Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of A Necessity versus Commodity. I've got a superstar guest on, Dylan. Now, if you're in the online space, whether you're an owner, a setter, a closer, you know setters can be one of the most valuable keys to your business, especially if you're scaling. It can improve your sales closing rate. It can improve your ability to immediately touch leads, get them the education they need so they can jump on a call and close. Or Dylan's unique, amazing ability where he teaches people how to be closing 5K, 10K, even 50K deals directly in DMs. So, Dylan, welcome to the episode, man. I've been following you for several years. We have never officially met until today. I am glad we are finally doing so because you are a super unique individual out there. I've been part of your Facebook group. I love the aspect in your Facebook group. And hey, everybody, at the end, we'll give you what that is so you can do that. But Dylan's one of those individuals where he agrees with the Alex Hormozi philosophy of give everything away for free. If you want someone to actually help coach you, implement it for you, dial it in for you, he's there to hire. So, Dylan, let me talk about your Facebook group for a second. Like, you put out so much free stuff in there. What are some of the biggest lead magnets or biggest free trainings that you see people just drool over when you give it out?
Yeah. So I want to give it context. So I appreciate that. Sure, that was amazing. I want to give it context because everyone's like really obsessed with the lead magnet, right? They want the lead magnet. What I want to do is in an organic process, I want as many eyeballs watching for a long time. So I want impressions. I want to be impressed on their subconscious. So you have been in sales for a long time and you understand that when the colder leads are a little harder to close,
Yep.
right? So it's going to take a little bit more skill. Now, also, what does everybody do? They go and build a Facebook group. And so then the Facebook group, that's going to solve it. Now I've got, they're in the group. They know I'm the authority. I'm the cult leader. Did it. Nope, not yet. Well, so what I do is there's the initial, they want the thing. But then I also want them to have watch time. All right. And that's why they go into YouTube. Let's start a YouTube channel and then everyone will get watch time. But how do you get them there? So why do we want them to have watch time? Why are we doing all this? Well, I want to impress them. I want to impress myself in their subconscious. I want them to be like messaging Dylan, messaging Dylan, DMs, closing, chat, blah, 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 and that keeps impressing myself in their subconscious. So that's the context. Okay, that's why I want them there. That's what I want to do. But also, it's educating them, and it's called demonstration marketing.
Agreed.
So I want to what people really love is I have a whole library of me doing it. Like not just, hey, I can teach you. No, I'm going to show you, and then you can make your decision later that I'm the guy for you. So if you don't, a lot of people are like, I don't have testimonials yet. I don't have a big plaque from ClickFunnels thing. I don't either, but people still buy because I can demonstrate me doing the thing. Right. Yep. So and they also love it. So it's not only really persuasive to demonstrate it, but it's also very, it's like people want it because they're learning. So the watch times are really high. So what do you do that you could demonstrate it in action? That's where everyone's scared because either they can't demonstrate it or two, they can't demonstrate it or there's the secret sauce that they don't want to lose.
Yeah. They're not giving you a peek behind the curtain, right? And that's what's so brilliant and why I love being a part of your group and what you do. And we're seeing that shift in the industry right now, right? Live. Like COVID, everyone sat around and watched webinars, clicked on every single thing they had because that's all they had time to do. They jumped on all these sales calls, and a lot of people have been burned. So the trust is way down. The understanding and sophistication is way up. I think people now have this kind of goes with what you were talking about with messaging and the impression, because who you are as a person stands out and attract the right person. Yeah. Now, can you demonstrate the skill and actually show them the mechanics of how it's done, right? Because if you can demonstrate that, your ideal client is going to come to you and invest and hire you to solve that problem quicker, right? Or somebody's just going to learn from your stuff, implement it, and get results, and talk you up and down either way.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And so there's like a level of compensation going on. This is a universal principle, right?
Agreed.
The law of compensation. So if you do, and you can literally run a business like that, like you can give, and there's these subconscious motivators in people's minds that they're like, I got to give back. Like I just got to. Now it's a little different than like reciprocity, where you're like giving with the intention to get something back. But like, again, it's going to come back in some way somewhere, and it might be mystical, it might be some mystical way, I don't know how, it just happens, right? So for example, everyone's like, why aren't you high ticket, why didn't you sell this for high ticket? Because I did a launch and I got a bunch of people in for free, but what happened is my organic reach has gone up. Like every single day there's people joining my group. I'm not running ads to it. So what did I receive in return? Was it a bunch of money?
Yeah.
No, it was, I got a little bit of money from the launch. People wanted to just pay me. It just naturally happened. But now I got word of mouth. That was
It's a
my
long
intention.
game.
Long game. Yeah.
And that's a big, and I love that philosophy as yours. And the way that you operate as a business. I think that's one reason why I was so attracted to what the way that you approach business online as well. It's one of the biggest things. Like a lot of the clients I work with, they've been in the online space with a 5K to a 20K offer. They've hired a bunch of individuals out there, spent $10,000 to $50,000 on different courses, and they understand I've been there too. So there's that connection and going, well, why did it not work for me? And because so many people just chase an easy tactic because they're buying into some marketing, where my clients now are looking at, hey, this is a long game. I need to be doing this. If I build this business correctly over the next 12 months, to your point, you now have a snowball that is growing out of control.
Yeah.
That clients are just going to come to you. And it's why I liked watching you, not just in what you do, but how you've been conducting business, because that says a lot about who you are individually as well. And you understand that piece. And a lot of online people don't understand that. They're just looking for the quick dollar, the quick thumbs up, the quick lead. And that's why so many people within 6 to 12 months, they're out of business, broke, their credit cards are full, rather than going, hey, how do I actually set up the foundations of a 7-figure business and look at this for the 12-month long game and do stuff like what you did. Hey, I'm going to give everything away for free. Just come join my group, right?
Yeah.
It might cost you a little bit. You might have broke even at the front end, but it's paying dividends in the background because you have permanent real estate now. And you also are on top of their mind. Always.
Yeah.
Like you said, people are like, DM setter. Dylan pops to my mind always number one.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the results you get of people closing. Oh my gosh, I just implemented what you told me. I closed a 20K deal in 5 minutes in my DMs. I used to spend 60 minutes on a call and then battle somebody for 30 minutes, right?
Right.
People don't believe that's even possible. So I love that long game that you're talking about in the way that you approach business. I think it's truly amazing because not enough people are doing it. And I think we're going more that direction in the online space. So you're way ahead of the game, which puts you really far ahead of the game actually over the next couple of years.
Oh man, thank you. Sometimes when you're in it, you're not thinking like, oh man, like, is this gonna work? Is this gonna work? But like, seeing the outs, like when you see it all over time, you're like, wow, like you can really build some amazing stuff with content. And that's why, and what you said earlier was, most people don't believe it. So what is the point of long form content? Well, belief systems take a long time to form. It's like a web, right? One belief leads to another belief, which leads to another belief. And so it shifts all their other beliefs. And so now they have this like heavy web that's going to be like, yeah, you have to unshift. So when you go on a sales call, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're helping them shift beliefs, but you can't always do that like on a call, unless you're really, really good. But what can you do is you can belief shift with your content.
Yeah.
So I want them to have these beliefs by showing them over and over and over again. Because what do people want? What's my big objection? I want a tactic. I want a skill. I want a chat bot to go out there. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, then wait for your business to burn and die while you wait for somebody in some basement to code some chat bot.
Yeah.
or you could just take control of your business. And so I want them to believe these things, that it's skills, not necessarily a tactic. The only way I can do that is with just slow, like, you know, the shifting of watch from the content that they're watching.
Yeah. And there's a beautiful book out there. I think it's Unsubscribed. I think it's what it's called. I'm trying to remember. But they go through a couple data points that people need 15 hours of content consumption before they buy.
Yeah.
They need 7 to 15 touch points. And then they need like 3 more key answers that help overcome their uncertainty or lack of clarity to create that overall confidence. You know, it's one thing that I teach all my clients when we start writing copy up front and building out assets and funnels of looking at that 15 hours of content, right? Now, someone that buys from you doesn't need 15 hours of your content, but they need 15 hours of like what you're talking about, that belief change, because there's self-doubt. They'll see something and be like, dude, you can't do that with DMs. But all of a sudden they start watching your stuff. They see other people doing it. And all of a sudden over time, that 15 hours, or maybe they hop online and they start watching some videos. So it doesn't always have to come from you. Now, the other 7 to 15 touch points doesn't always need to come from you directly either, but the more of those you can give them, the quicker, the faster you can turn into a client as well, because now they have clarity, they have certainty, and they're confident in the actual skill that you're going to give them and know how it's going to go. And now it's a no-brainer. There's not even objections. That's how you can close that stuff through like cold DMs, or when I teach some of my clients of like, hey, how to handle your sales call. I don't teach them scripts. I don't teach them any of that. I teach frameworks, which when you're talking about your DMs, which we'll get into, is you're talking about conversations. You're not even talking about closing. You're not talking about pitching. You're talking about conversations. Yeah. And the very first thing I tell all my clients is the moment someone hops on a sales call, you need to figure out their perspective, their perception of the world, and the purpose that they're there right away. What's their their perspective of you? Like, what do they know about you? Right? Like, do they already feel like you can solve their problem? Because if they're unsure about that, it's going to be a way harder of a sales call. What's their perception of the world? Your solution.
Silent objection.
Yeah. The perception of the world too, like what you're selling, do they actually feel could even get them to the result? And then the purpose, what's the purpose or there? Is there purpose just to get general information to feel you out? Or is the purpose of the goal that they have in mind, all the desires they have been thinking about, all the fears they've been running from, are they there to actually solve that problem, knowing that you're the one that will solve the problem today? Because if you nail all 3 of those within 5 minutes of the first call, of the rest of the call becomes very easy, like a conversation you and I are having right now. We're just talking in depth. And then I don't ever do a pitch, I do a proposal. I call it a proposal because just like you would propose to a significant other, you're never doing a proposal unless you know they're saying yes, and you know that you want to actually spend the rest of your life with
so.
Exactly.
We hope so.
And the proposal should be as easy as you saying, will you marry me?
Yeah.
Right? Your proposal should be that crystal clear and specific and easy that it's a no-brainer of, hey, it's 10K to work with me. Cool. How do you accept payment? Right? Like, that's the way things should go, but nothing happens that way with everything up at the front end. Right? And that's the magic. You can do that in a DM and with you playing the long game.
Yes.
Right? So one of the things that we see in the online space right now, you and I both see it all over the place. People will post, oh, this freaking stupid setter sent me a message going, hey, how was your vacation? Dude, just get to the pitch already. I don't want to fucking be your friend. Or the next day they're posting, oh my gosh, this guy sent me a message and then immediately pitched me. What an idiot. Right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are really scared to even use DMs and don't think it even works, don't think it's effective, when it's actually one of the most effective ways of you building a relationship with someone. So to shatter people's perspective of DMs are stupid and those are wrong ways of handling things, and I agree with some of the pictures, but that's someone just trying their hardest.
Yeah.
And God bless them, we've all been there, right? It's like going door knocking on your first sales job. You didn't know what the heck was going on either, right?
You should have seen my first DM.
Yeah, but have some humanity and love.
It's in a frame.
Try it. So let's kind of change people's perspective about DMs and why what you do and what you teach and the skill you've developed so different, and why is it so effective?
I want to first handle anybody who is the person that does the screenshots of the DMs. I've done it too. So, it is annoying. But the way you feel about a specific thing, so if you're judging somebody for DMing you, that means you're also feeling judged for doing DMing and you're stopping yourself.
Agreed.
So if you don't like being, so if you believe in a specific objection, then you can't handle it. If you believe that DMs is a bad thing, then you won't do it.
Agreed.
So you're screwing yourself is what you're doing. There's where you're screwed. So
Stop there for a second. Do you want to know how I broke myself of that?
how?
Every bad DM I get, I actually have a conversation with the person.
Really?
I do. I will have at least 3 comments back and forth and be like, "Hey man, I'm not your target market.
But I'd like to get to know you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and I think I'm glad to see you out there working your butt off. It's a hard thing to do. Keep it up, right?" And truthfully, over the last 5 years, I've met some amazing people through that conversation and seen them go to different careers, or they've helped me, I've helped them. And that's what's in social media is actually never social anymore. And I'm always very human with people because I've made those mistakes as well. So
Yeah.
it actually broke me of hating DMs. Even if I sent someone a DM, there was a lady there I connected with. I was helping her through some comments, and I sent a friend request, said, "Hey, I'd just love to connect." She goes, "Why do you want to connect with me?" I'm like, "Well, you're a business owner, collaboration, networking, friendship, communication, right? How do
I
you know
don't
I'm a
know yet.
owner?"
I don't know yet. I
Yeah, and
don't know
she
you.
goes, and she goes, "How do you know I'm a business owner?" I'm like, "That you don't need to accept my friend request, and I won't message you again if you want to chat. Cool, but I was helping you in
Yeah.
that thing, whatever, right?" It doesn't bother me because I was just more interested in a general conversation and connection with another business owner online. And so, because I've given that compassion to other people and continue and always will do that compassion,
Yeah.
it changes your mindset. Because again, DMing and messaging, some of the people in my network, some of the people that I know, some people have helped out, some of the people that I've helped for no money exchange, just to help them, has changed the game for me. Just like playing a long game, like what you're talking about, sort of thing. So I love that point of view. So when you start a conversation, what's your kind of intent that makes you different to not sound like one of those jackholes? And I'm glad
Yeah.
you said, "Hey, I've actually done that, and I was really bad at DMing too." So
Yeah.
admitting our
So
failures.
yeah. I'll go into like how do you differentiate yourself, right? So to make them want to talk to you. I also have like to your point of answering back to people that are selling to you. This is another belief that people had is I close them. So I have a video of me flipping
I
it.
have to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because if it's
done the
bad
same thing.
sales and you help people with sales, then you can help them understand that this isn't the right approach, but not jaggedly like uh, offering all this like vomiting advice to them.
Yes.
So you can flip it. It's leads. It's free leads, and
Yeah.
it's I don't know why whatever. So, uh, so how do you message somebody that is so you don't really ever know how somebody is going to react, and you can really only give yourself reference experience. So basically the question I ask myself is how would I want to be messaged? And what I found is I used to do a lot of like kind of fancy stuff. I have a couple students that are like really funny that like just immediately start with a joke, and that like you can't be mad while you're laughing, especially if it's genuinely funny. So we'll say jokes. Like I used to like pretend like my bot like broke, and I'd be like, "Hey, name." Like, "Oh crap." And I would just like make just have fun. And so I've noticed that my mood would like rub off on them.
I love that you just brought up the bot and you do that, because I've actually text or messaged people and I've gone beep boop boop. Oh
Yeah.
wait, sorry. Hey, this is a real human. My bad. Type of deal. And humor and comedy and calling out what people are thinking, I think is really
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, go ahead. I love the fact that you used a bot too. That's funny.
Yeah. Or like I found like the best one is like who can like it's what's easy to answer. What's an easy in? Like, what's a good way to, like, hey, it's good to meet you. If you're at a networking event, what's the best thing you can do is you walk up and say, hey, it's good to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm Dylan. Like, it's just weird to not say anything back to that, right? So it breaks social norms. So I don't know where I heard this, but like when things start to move away from normal social normalcy, that's where people start to get weird and defensive because it's a fight or flight. It's
Yeah.
a runaway. Homeless guy in the street is, talking to a roll of toilet paper. You're naturally going to kind of veer away and avoid him because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous thing. It could potentially be him pulling out a syringe and stabbing you in the neck. It could be
Yeah.
that, right? And so what people try to do to impress everybody is they try to do these extravagant long, like, here's what I do and product. Immediately what I'm thinking is run away. That's not a normal person. That is uncanny valley. That is a robot or a something that I don't want to be a part of because it's unsafe. So it has to feel safe. It has to look normal. It's got to have good emotions because it's the first sale. The first sale is them saying, because you're asking for something. You're asking for a response, and that response, it's the first thing that they're gonna buy. They're not gonna go from zero to buying your $10,000 product from not knowing you. So you can take that out of the equation. The cold pitch will never work unless they are like the tip top of the market. You caught them perfectly at the right time. They are totally dialed and ready to rock. Like, boom, you could do that. But I at least just want to, like, okay, if how do people remember me? They're not going to remember me logically. They're going to remember me based off of the emotions I gave them.
Great.
So what is the thing I'm giving them is a good emotion, a laugh, a good conversation, a normal conversation. That was actually kind of funny. Hey, actually, I saw you do DMs. Mind if I ask you some questions about DMs and what I do? Yeah, sure. Let's have a conversation about that. That's usually what will happen because now you've lowered their guard. I have the belief that everyone wants to buy. Everyone wants solutions and like money flow. Like, have you seen how much people spend?
It's absolutely nuts.
You should see how much I spend on coffee, like every morning. Like, I'm just, whatever, take my money. But
But
like,
that's the thing. People love buying, but they hate being sold too.
yeah.
Right. And to step back on a second, like what you were talking about, of just the pattern interrupt, right? Of approaching somebody, hey, great to meet you. Right. Like, how do you go, hey, F you, dude, leave me alone? Unless you're a jackhole. And if you're a jackhole, cool, I don't want business. Please, just whatever. There's another sales group that I'm in. It's one of the top sales companies out there. They were my coaches for a little while. They're doing a 5-day challenge, and all these people are posting all these comments like, how do you overcome this objection? Hey, I sent out an email to this guy, and hey, how do you handle this response? Right. And like one of them that I saw earlier today was actually this lady. She's, hey, I got this. I was one of someone in our company gave me this lead of another company, said they want me to reach out. So I've been reaching out to this person for 30 days. This is a response back to basically this high level, like CEO, because she finally sent an email to him, CC'd with his secretary on it. And he responded back and said, don't ever CC another employee with an email directly to me ever again. And no, I don't want your service. And she's like, hey, how can I handle this situation? And I'm like, how can you handle this situation? He just politely told you he wanted to throat punch you, and you completely burned the bridge, right? And there's so much out there of people just beginning and trying, and they're doing so many things wrong. And it's so easy for you to stand out because you're being a human.
Right.
It's kind of like when I'm answering to people, I'm being a human to somebody. That's another human on the other side of the board, working their butt off to try to make $1.
Yeah.
God bless them, man. Like, I will at least make your day pleasant, not ruin it and burn it down. And so your uniqueness of just coming in like that, it does shatter a lot of those immediate barriers I think a lot of people have in the online space.
Right. Right. I'm gonna mind if I go rabbit hole?
Do it, dive, please, please.
I was listening. You ever heard of a guy named Greg Braden?
Oh yeah, 100%. Missing links actually is one of my. I loved his piece on it. I don't completely agree with his
Yeah.
philosophy of the universe, but I do like the man. He's very intelligent and do like him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he does a lot of studies on consciousness.
Yep.
All right. And he said, on the topic of AI, everyone's asking about AI, and AI, that there's this elusive chatbot that's going to go out and outbound DM 5,000 people a day and be able to close all of them in your DMs. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard things. um, and that'd be cool. I think that would be awesome. But
Yeah.
there's everyone thinks there's 5 senses or perceptics. And there's more. And he talks about the field. There's actually measured field of energy on a human, and you can feel it. And you can literally you can see it in your mind, like the things that they're thinking about. Like it's a full field. When people close off, they're closing off energetically. And you can actually feel it. I don't know if you've ever been on a call where like something broke and it just like went off.
Oh yeah.
And you feel it and you're like, get all heavy. The whole thing gets heavy.
Yep.
Well, a lot of my studies are on that specifically. And it's also not time, it's not space, it's not in the physical universe. It's a perception. And so that's why you can kind of feel if somebody's in Oklahoma and I'm in Florida, you do that over DMs, right? So what he said is there's chatbots that actually can sense and communicate with the field, right? They can actually sense those things and identify those communication patterns. All right. But that field is incredibly important, and it's a full energetic exchange, right? Sex is an energetic exchange. Sales is an energetic exchange. So a lot of these philosophies are very energetic. So when somebody is down here in their consciousness and they're going like, hey, how do I go about close this person in the situation when the guy is like, please leave me alone?
Yeah.
He's respectfully trying to tell you no. Like, yes, I agree, like be a hard closer, like keep pushing. But like you can be a hard closer when you have like a moral frame and like this strong responsibility and the intention is there, and then that person is like not directly telling you no because they know you're right.
Yeah.
So
And
that energetic
that's conviction and confidence of who you are, right? To be able to pull that off. Like you said, it's an energy field, not the desperation field.
Right. Right. And you're like kind of like being like this guardian angel. You're like, I got you.
Yep.
And then that's why, like, you hear people on some of these sales, like, I don't know, you can listen to these sales call recordings where they're like saying these things that like are freaking aggressive. Like they're aggressively like, you need to do this. Like, you're going to be fine. I got you. And like, you're like, how does he get away with that? Well, it's because that person, you can feel that person gave that person trust.
Yep.
And like that now, because you gave me trust, I owe it to you to help you overcome yourself.
Yep.
Right. And they can feel that. And then that's how they can get away with it. But people are like, how do I handle these objections? There's no energy there that you can't. You're not there yet.
And
but you lost them over here. You lost them earlier in the conversation, not then and there.
And it's one of the things where a lot of clients that I've worked with were, because I normally do an audit. So I normally audit their funnel and I listen to anywhere from like 1 to 3 sales calls.
Yeah.
And then I break it down of like, hey, these people didn't buy or they didn't buy, and here's why. And I basically deconstruct it. There's an issue here with your pitch, here how you bridged it, here how, right now, here how the call started. Now, the reason why your whole call started that way is because of here and here and here and everything with your marketing.
Yep.
Now, one thing that, you talking about the energy fields that, and I'm a firm believer in that, like quantum physics shows that we're actually in a matrix, right? Like you can only divide something in half so many times until you can't, which shows that we're in a simulation, right? So, and we're all energy. Like if you research, there's a company out in California called Heart Math. which talks
Yeah.
about the energy field, right? That your heart kicks it out like 6 feet, 12 feet, depending on how you're doing. And that's interacting, those type of things.
Mhm.
I I don't know if this is a skill I developed over the years at working in restaurants, personal trainer, you know, doing sales, whatever, or if it was actually God given type of skill. But it was probably 3 or 4 years ago when I was first. I left my brick and mortar business and my first online business and just started doing sales for people. One of the guys I started doing sales for, it was probably the first 2 weeks, and it's also why I'm so great at dissecting sales calls and knowing what's going on with it,
Yeah.
because I realized I had this skill. And talking about the energy field, it doesn't always have to happen live. Like you said, that energy field, like you could be across, right? You're going DMs. You don't have to be next to somebody. But I also experienced it on a recording. So when I really so we were listening to one of his sales calls. He was onboarding a couple of us to do sales. So he's going through one of his sales calls from the week prior. He was literally in the first 2 minutes of building rapport, which doesn't build rapport at all. And he was talking to this husband and wife. And this is over the phone. This isn't on Zoom. And was talking about blah, 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 blah. And he goes, yeah, why aren't you out playing basketball with your son? And as we were listening to that, right when he said that, I go, hey, pause it real quick. You just lost that guy. And he goes, what do you mean? How do you know that? And I said, you can just tell. Like you can literally tell. 6 minutes later into the conversation, we found out the guy's in a wheelchair and has been paraplegic for like 15 years.
Wow. And you could feel it.
And I could feel it was
It's a
3 to 5
drop in energy.
seconds. Yeah, you could feel it. And I said, you just lost that guy and offended him. Right. Like, and so it's crazy when you think about that, you brought up earlier, like how you're approaching somebody. What are you actually intending when you're sending that? Oh shit, I don't really want to send this. I'm trying to just make $1. I don't want to pay my bills. Boom, boom, boom. And someone reads that. It doesn't matter what you say because they're going to feel that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it is really crazy. I'm 100%. When you brought up Greg Braden, is I know who he is. I like his stuff to a certain degree because I am very religious. I believe in Jesus Christ. Some of the metaphysical manifestation stuff I do not agree with, type of deal. But there's so much science out there proving that we are energetic. If I believe in God, I must believe in supernatural. So all of this stuff, I understand how it works on a scientific level as well. And there is without a doubt showing it is real. And so that energetic field is super, super important. So I'm glad. So I'm going further down the rabbit hole here with you, but I couldn't agree more.
I
And
always make things spiritual. That's my fault.
no, if you ask my clients every coaching session, I
Yeah.
talk about Jesus Christ in some way,
Yeah.
or using a Bible verse to show,
Yeah.
of going through life, the correct way.
Because
And
you can only hit a certain level until you have to start to integrate, some spiritual principles.
100%, and that's where, like you said, you can watch a sales guy and be really aggressive with somebody, but if their conviction of who they are and the reason behind it, right? It's kind of like, in Gladiator, though. I'm Maximus Aurelius. I'm the leader of the army. I'm this. I'm that. I'm a father, and a husband. Like the essence of this man, right?
Yeah.
And he can have that conversation with you, right, and be more direct. And so I think that type of thing of the energy and who you have inside yourself and the way you view yourself definitely has a big effect on how you can talk to people. But there also need to be some sort of relationship, and through DMs, that's a hard thing to bring across. And so that's one thing that you're very magical at. So let's keep going down the rabbit
So
hole.
that's where you were talking about. It's the next piece is the instinct that you develop, right? So you were bringing up, now there's like the one side of it, and there's one side where everyone gets all woo woo and weird, and then like they're not making any sales. I get it, but like you still need some skills. So I think there's like this like magic connection where like you start to get the metaphysical, and then you get the the skills, and man, that's just like this bing, it starts to work. The next thing is really like reading people, right? People talk. Everyone's had this experience where they want to just call somebody because the text, like they can't understand the text, right? They don't want to misunderstand it. The cause of all rapport breaks, is a bold statement, but it's a misunderstanding. It's not
Great.
because you didn't talk about the weather for 3 hours.
Yep.
Like it's a misunderstanding.
Great.
So like there's breaking rapport, there's that neutral kind of friendly rapport, and then there's like a seeking rapport. Let's be friends. In the beginning, you're seeking rapport. But like here's where people get pissed off is because like you said, they feel the intention that you're seeking rapport with an agenda.
Yes.
All right. And so that's why they're screenshotting it and posting it, is because they're not wrong. They're actually, people aren't dumb. I have this fundamental belief that people aren't dumb, and that field is smart as hell.
Yep.
But maybe they
Intuition.
don't consciously know why.
Yep. Intuition. 100%.
Yeah. So they don't consciously know why they don't like this guy, but it's something there and they can't really express it, and they don't know how to object. Right. It's just like, I don't know. I can't, I don't want to. And they kind of go fight or flight. And then you have those sales calls where they go off the rail. So that sales guy, he didn't know that he was in a wheelchair, but like, because his intention was, I'm going to seek rapport because I have an agenda, he's not even really caring to even
Correct.
ask. Right. Like I had a call with a guy the other day, like there was complex sales. I'm basically ChatGPT, take all this information and help me like know more about them, because I actually genuinely need to understand before I make any sort of assessment or a pitch. Then you have the thing with making a pitch too early. You're going to lose trust because you don't even know if that's what they need. So immediately you're losing trust. Like, hey, I have this thing where I can get you 10, 20 freaking leads and you can do that. Blah, blah, blah. And then like they do that. Immediately you're not building any trust, and you're breaking the gradient. That gradient that they need to follow to get to your sale you've already lost it, but they might not even know why. They subconsciously don't trust you because you pitched.
Yeah.
Before you knew that they had a problem.
And I want to talk about that little bit of a bridge here, because it's very, something has to be done very specifically. Otherwise you do destroy rapport. But before we start there, it's one of the big things I see so many sales reps that I've worked with in the past, or sales script and tactics are taught that, hey, the first 3 to 5 minutes should be rapport. Hey, Dylan, man, great to talk to you. Oh, what part of the country are you in? Oh, you're a basketball fan too? How about them guys? Right? Like, that's not rapport building.
No.
And to your point, you're doing it for a specific agenda. Because then all of a sudden you have to go, well, hey, Dylan, I don't want to take your time, so I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes. So then we can talk about you buying from me.
Yeah.
And immediately you're like, F you, dude.
Yeah.
Right. And the same thing happens in the DMs, right? Which is why how I handle the beginning part of my calls are completely different than pretty much anybody else out there. And the same thing why my clients love going
How do you handle the beginning of your calls?
Hey, Dylan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you jumped on to figure out how to actually put some ideal systems in your business.
Yeah, thanks.
What specifically in mind did you see that you liked?
That part where you talked about systems and businesses, that
Well,
last video, I like that one.
I sent you a couple videos. Did you get a chance to watch them?
Oh yeah.
What did you like about those? What stuck out? Anything new that maybe you're not really sure about?
The one where you basically said if you don't have systems, you're going to have no control over your time, and you're going to be reactive to your business, and your business is going to fall apart, and you're not a real business owner if you don't have systems.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. So how long have you been in business?
Oh, I'm like 5 years.
What type of business are you doing right now?
I have a messaging coaching business.
Okay. How many clients do you currently, right? And we just have a normal conversation, and I will get more personal as it opens up, right?
Yeah.
And you build rapport that way. You start real quick. Again, I need to figure out your perception of the world.
Yeah.
How you perceive me, and there would be more details there normally, and I would have opened
Yeah,
up.
like what'd you like about it? Did you
Right,
get a
right.
chance to watch it? Now you
Yep,
know how to have the interaction because there's some context. Oh, he's
yep,
watched it and he actually believes the things that I want him to believe.
correct. And you gave me your purpose, dude. I firmly believe that for my business to actually start working, I do need the systems that you talked about, so I can go right into, dude, tell me about your business and why you think systems might actually be something that would solve problems for you.
Yeah. Well, I
And
noticed too, your tonality is like cut. It's sharp. It's, we're
yeah,
not like, hey, what's
yeah,
up? You know?
you just, this is me, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny you bring that up. A lot of my clients, they're like, I've learned so much from just watching you talk, Scott, and just the way you are on a call with people, because it's a normal conversation like you and I are having, right?
Yeah.
And during our conversation, we've had some exciting moments, and we've talked a little bit slower, we've
Mhm.
talked a little bit deeper. And that's the thing, you don't need tonality if you actually having a conversation and care about the person in front of you. Is it that
Yeah.
really hard to understand? Right.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that every sales call, if I go through the Dickinson's process, which is, Scrooge McDuck, Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, and Future, and we have conversation on all three of those.
Yeah.
It's your choice to change or not,
Mhm.
right? Like, I can't magically do it when you see that, hey, if you don't do anything, that you're going to be a dead and alone.
Yeah.
Change Scrooge, right? And then turned him to, but I want to give and I want to love, right? Like, you've got those options. You've got either life or death. Like, and I look at every sales call like that too. Not that if you don't buy from me, you're gonna go commit suicide, right? Or that you're
Yeah.
gonna lose everything. Your wife is gonna, a country song is gonna be written because your wife took, the dog in the truck from you and left.
Yeah.
But every situation really is life or death. It's safe and unsafe, right? And
Right.
so which is better. But you have to understand perspective and also have a good enough conversation to sometimes, I use this analogy a lot. If you and I right now are shoulder to shoulder looking at each other, and we're looking outside a door, and we're 20,000 feet up looking down out of an airplane, and I ask you, do you want to grab a parachute or do you just want to jump? You're grabbing the parachute every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if you're really scared and you decide to stay in the plane, I grab the parachute and jump, but I see it, the plane's on fire and going down, but you don't know it. I need to be able to have that conversation like, Dylan, dude, that plane's on fire. It's going to crash into that mountain in 30 seconds. You better grab that parachute and go.
Yeah.
Right. So perspective really matters. And can you have a conversation? You said this earlier about changing people's perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's every sales call. And that's why I need to figure out your perspective, your perception on things, and also your purpose to be here. Because the moment you tell me something that is out of perspective, I need to show you the correct perspective and have an honest conversation with that.
And that perspective being the plane is on fire.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And I know you probably don't know this yet, but the
Yes,
plane is on fire.
right. Or hey, no, you don't need the parachute. You're good to go. Have a good one, man. Right? Like, I'll see you on the ground either way, right?
Yeah.
But you're gonna stay there, that's fine.
Well, that's where you're taking an advisor frame. Like I had a
Correct.
call, I was selling BizOp, and this lady was like trying to find some distraction and like had a business actually operating, but couldn't tell that it was actually growing. And I was like, hey, look, you can't do both. You need to, you also aren't clear on your goals. And so I don't know if this is the right thing because what are your goals? And I was like, at the end of it, we kind of gathered information. I said, hey, here's what I genuinely believe you should do.
Yep.
Now, don't do this shiny object. You are going to really screw yourself because everything takes. She thought it was going to be a magical. It's going to make money in 4 days. So it's not true.
Yeah.
And guess who's coming back to that business?
Yeah.
Like, okay, hey, now's my time to do it because you told me the honest truth. I also had it
Great.
where and that's how I was running a lot of these BizOp calls. I actually had a story where I got outperformed by someone I thought was outperforming me. Close rate was higher, more deals, more offers, but making a lot of promises that weren't true.
Promises.
Promises.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounded good on the front end. A lot of times things when they sound good on the front end aren't necessarily the truth. It's the Adam and Eve. You know, this seems like a good idea now. This apple seems like a good idea now, but it's always going to have some sort of balance, right? There's always going to be some balance. So she had this, I think it was like a 50% or 50 to 60% refund rate, and
Yeah.
mine was like 5,
Yep.
right? But my close rate was a little less because I was really honest with people. But then you talk to people 3 months later and they're still like in it because they're still sold.
Yeah.
That's how sales should be. They're still sold on the process.
Dylan, that's another reason why I love watching you, because of your ethics and who you are as a man shows through with a lot of stuff you put out there. There was actually a conversation I was having a couple of weeks ago, on Zach, who's a recruiter, and I've interviewed him on the podcast as well. But he was making a comment about refunds, basically what you're talking about. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you can all get hyped up that you're closing 80%, but if when your refund rate is 70%, like, let's be honest here, you're not being a good closer, you know. And my comment on there was, I've been in sales for almost 20 years. I started off personal training, then gym memberships, sales manager, had my own brick and mortar business, my own online business,
Yeah.
you know, so I've been at this for a long time. There's 8 people that have ever refunded from me my whole career
Wow.
because of that.
Yeah.
Right. And because I'm not going to push somebody into a situation, but I am going to also challenge when their perspective is wrong.
Right.
Right. Of, hey, if you're going to stay on a plane, cool. Some people should stay on that plane. But if other people are going down with the plane, either way, like, you need to be there to also tell them the truth. Like, hey, and people appreciate that honesty. That gets them more buy-in to where, like you said, 3 years later, they're still freaking at it, crushing, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the most proud moments of
Because
my.
of that one conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I still have people to this day where I enrolled them into a gym membership like 20 years ago, and they're still at it, and they thank me for it.
That's
Right? Like, dude,
a
you really
big
changed
deal.
my life.
That's a
Yeah,
big
you know,
deal.
same thing with some clients. Like, I'll run into them like at a ball game or something, and like their kids would be like, "Oh my gosh, Scott, we heard so much about you. It's awesome to meet you." My mom or my dad, whoever it is, they just always talked about you, and there was such a change, and it's changed us, and it's just been awesome, right? Like, that type of stuff, and that all started just through a correct conversation up front.
Yeah.
So the one thing I want to go back is, like, how do you bridge that? You start a conversation with somebody just cold on DMs, right?
Yeah.
It's like going up to a bar and being like, hey, right? Whether it's a guy, girl, it doesn't matter. It's starting a conversation. That's scary as crap. You know, like you said, hey, what intention you going out? Don't make it scary. Just, dude, I'm just trying to connect with the world, and
Yeah.
happens. But how do you on DMs have that kind of quick conversation? Like, hey, great to meet you. You know, how do you then start having a conversation and also turn it to a sales conversation? Because that's where a lot of people fail drastically.
Yeah. And that's why I think people contact me, is that specifically because they feel like they're wasting their time. And there's a lot of conversations that don't really go anywhere.
Yep.
Or they're trying to get it more direct. Or they get the problem and they lose them because, they either just try to get them to a call too early, or there's a lot going on. I think that, I'm going to give this some context, is there's salespeople that are really good closers, but I've met a lot that like aren't really good socially.
Yeah.
So you're like, that's interesting. Right? You would think that you have to be really good socially to close deals.
Yep.
That's actually not true. You have to, like, because a lot of times you kind of have to not feel the social pressure to close. Sometimes you got to kind of be bullheaded and just be like, I can't feel it.
Yep.
And so that's why they're not very sensitive, right? They don't have a lot of those like little sensors of like, okay, I should push away. Like, there's a little bit more empathy in on the front end, like setting and stuff. And some would say that's not true, and you got to feel a lot more in a closing situation. But like, you kind of see the balance. There's closers that aren't very good socially, but then you see there's a lot of really social wizards And I knew this because I spent more time doing this than I did actually on sales calls, was learning how to talk to women. I did the mystery method, and I did a lot of the cold approach, and I spent a lot of times in
Which
bars.
one's the mystery method? Was that guy that?
VHS, VHS, is that? He had a show.
Yes, and so he was a guy that looked almost like a magician.
Wild.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just like,
No, he was like he studied social interactions. Like, he was his big thing, right?
yeah, he was kind of like a Chris Angel, but of the dating scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Exactly.
cool. Okay, I'm
So
thinking
I
of.
spent a lot of time because I had a lot
Sorry.
of trouble. I had a lot of trouble in my youth with that. Like, couldn't get a girlfriend till I was like 18. And I had no idea how to do it. It was terrifying. All right.
Another
And
thing we
so,
have common before.
what's that?
Another thing we had in common.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and a
that
lot
was
of guys have
awkward.
that problem.
Yeah,
A
that
lot
was
of guys have
me
that.
being brought up Catholic, actually. But yes, the
Yeah.
communication with women was really hard because of so many Catholic beliefs. But go on, yeah.
I had the same thing. Yeah. Catholic as well. And so there's a lot of internal stuff. They call it inner game, and there's a lot of the outer stuff. And what I believe is, one is a more feminine, non-linear approach, and it's very chaotic. You can DM somebody on the internet. It's the Wild West. You have no idea what's going to happen. Like, literally anything could happen. That you could talk about Pluto for the next 30 minutes, or they could tell you they have a problem and you could be closing them. You literally never know. It's a mixed bag. And
Yep.
that's social interactions. Is it's actually, you have to be more adaptable, and you have to change per person. All right. So, very chaotic. So you move it from chaos to order. So you go from the yin to the yang, right? And so when you're in these situations, it's kind of goes everywhere. What happens is, in business, it's go from chaos to more order. When you get into the business, you have to have the maximum order. This is where you come in. That's where you have to have perfectly pristine systems, and a business should not have no chaos inside of the business. Once they're in a process, and they follow the process, and there's timing, and there's check-ins, and there's standard operating procedures, and it's an exact thing, and that's how you can scale. That's a scalable, solid model. It's the same thing, copy paste. Sales is a little bit more linear, but not as linear as a systems and operations. Sales is like a process, but there's still going to be some wild cards where you got to do some jujitsu, and you got to know what frames to have, and you got to be a little bit more flexible. But in the DMs, in brand building, and you're talking to random people and building up, it's almost like you're building a circle of people. That's going to be different. That's going to change, and that's going to be a little bit all over the place. So what do? Is you have to find some stable data points. Okay. So what happens is, you DM a lot of people, those conversations start to they spiral out, and they go in all these different directions. You might find out somebody's not a fit. You might find out somebody is a fit. You might find this guy is a fit, but he doesn't have a problem. You might find all kinds of stuff. But then what you need to do is, this is where my branding process comes in, is you have to create context. There's got to be a reason why you're asking them sales questions, right? And so I call it permission to sell. So if you go out, here's what's crazy. If you go out and you DM 100 people a day and you just have conversations with no intention, you'll actually do better, and you'll get a higher response rate, and you'll have more hooks in the fish, and you'll have more control later down the road. But they might not every single one of them turn into a sales interaction. And that's okay. You don't want that. You're essentially being a social chameleon, and you're going out and you're collecting all these people. And so then you have to have a way to move them. So I want to move them from intro message to, most likely it's going to be in the group. Hey, check out the group. This is pretty cool. Here's some videos. Here's some stuff. And then I want to cook them up a little bit. Then what's going to happen is they're realizing I'm not selling them, and now my door is open. So what are people doing when you sell them too early? Is it's now they're going to not answer the next time, and because they don't have to. That's what's different about a sales call and a DM interaction. Sales call, it's kind of like this polite, I want to get off the call, but I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of why a lot of people get on sales calls. So what real good psychology is when it's a real internal driver. Like I want somebody to have genuine interest. And this is something that I learned from the dating world is you you don't marry somebody unless they have genuine desire for you. And what guys used to do is they would go in with their Rolexes and their watches and all these things and try to impress them. You're not creating genuine interest. You're getting them bought in for the wrong reasons.
Agreed.
So what guys do is they try to pressure them to a call, but that's the wrong reason. They don't genuinely want to talk to you.
It's a great analogy. Absolutely great analogy. And it's I think, that's the beautiful analogy because that's the shift we're seeing in the market right now. So many people are jaded by by chasing after the guy with the Lambos and the watches. And women are like, oh, I want to ride this guy's yacht, and realize that they're just being thrown aside afterwards and looking for that genuine connection. That's a beautiful analogy. I didn't look at it that way, but yes, it makes total sense. It's, one of the big things with the systems and what the assets I give clients, and playing that 12-month long game or 6 months, whatever it may be, but putting those structures in place, because realizing that if you're putting this stuff out, to your point, you're cooking them, right? You're actually building a relationship with it. It's kind of like if Tony Robbins calls some of these individuals up and say, hey, it's Tony Robbins. I only have one spot left to personally coach with me for that 1 year time slot for $1 million. Are you in? Yes, I'm in, right?
I'll
Because
find the money, man.
right, they know, right? And
Yeah.
that's the way you want people showing up to you,
Yeah.
whether it's through DMs or booking a sales call, one way or another. That's where this industry should be at already. It's painfully growing and going that way. And again, a lot of my clients are beginning to really see the overall benefit and why that's happening. I think a lot of people are kind of waking up to it. So I love that analogy because of everything that's happening. So sorry to cut you off there. I just really love that analogy.
No, I appreciate it. Well, that brings me to my next point is when things are easy, they can't be easy for long. Like it's such a cool industry. Like you can literally write stuff on Google Docs and people want it, and then that turns into sales, and like you can literally do anything.
Yeah.
So like, but the depth of understanding is where people are lacking. And it's an awareness level. We have to have an awareness level of like, why do people respond a certain way to certain things? Like people have scripts, but why? Like you can't this is where people like you give them a script, and this is why I have dynamic scripting, but I don't have like a full script that I give people, and that's what's different is I don't do any scripting really, right? We have little things that you could say in canned lines, but I want you to be skilled enough to be able to go talk to somebody anywhere, move them through a conversation, and then know how and when to transition because you know how to read them. Because people won't necessarily tell you they have a problem, but they will allude to it. And then in interactions with women, when we do pickup, it's called an IOI. It's an indicator. You find your indicators, and then you say, because they're never going to tell you. That's the thing about the feminine is the feminine won't tell you. Okay. And because they won't tell you, it takes a degree of skill and understanding for you to be able to lead it when you feel right. So they're going to say things like, yeah, I've been watching your stuff, man. Like this is like I really appreciate like what you do with the DM stuff. That's interesting. Got it. What do you like about it? That's your hook. You're in. And then you can keep moving it, and then they sell you on it. And then you're like, got it. Well, what do you do for DMs? You mind if I ask you some questions? Yeah. And now you can frame it. And then you get more linear and process oriented as it moves towards a problem.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. And, whether you're in DMs and it's the same thing, of talking to somebody on a sales call, I've done that for years, in-person sales and fitness, realizing what they're saying behind what they're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And because again, if you're just going off a script and you're just thinking about the next line, same thing in DMs, that's even worse. Like it's brutally honest because we have no idea how they're taking that because we can't see them, and that's the one thing that I think makes you freaking amazing and kind of a unicorn of your process 85% of communication is nonverbal.
Mhm.
Right? So us talking, I can pick up and I can tell really quickly what you mean behind something by
Mhm.
your body language, your tone. It's all the nonverbal cues that I'm able to pick up really quickly on to further a conversation of where it needs to go. It's a way different ballgame in DMs, right? And
Yeah.
I love what you kind of just said there of realizing what they're saying. And sometimes that comes through just doing it enough times, but it's more important to really know what you're looking for. Because, like
Right.
you said, there's a bunch of people come to you, they've been 5 years of getting nowhere. So it must not just be, the practice, it's developing the skill. And you can never develop that skill if you don't have frameworks or targets, the specific things you're looking for to know, okay, I got that.
Yeah.
Now I know where to move, when to move, how to further lead this conversation into a certain direction, which potentially could be leading into, is this person someone that is looking to hire me or not? Right.
Right.
So yeah,
100%.
go on with you get that intention kind of going.
Mhm.
How do you bring up the sale portion?
Yeah. So one, there's a couple ways to do it, right? Is you have to have the context. So what's cool about the DMs, and this is why I believe more now, I'm moving more towards like uh sales call lists, sales. You actually have more leverage. Because the reason why like what's on a sales call is you can read people, you can see them. But there's a lot more going for you in the platform itself. So uh another thing, like why would a like when you're going into value exchange interactions, that's what sales is an exchange of value. Well, who's going to have the higher advantage and when and where? Well, when you're on your DMs, you actually have a higher advantage because they're in your universe. If they're in your group, um, and you have good pictures, you have good quality, you ever talk to somebody and like you make a decision to reply to them because of the way they look online.
Oh
And
yeah.
so there's a lot of like pre-suasion going on. They're pre-suading. The messaging is a lot of pre-suading. So that way when they get on the call, the reason I know this, we did really, really good with when I had a setter who's like almost damn near closing them in DMs and then get them on the call with me and I was getting laydowns. I developed this because I'm lazy,
Yep.
I want more laydowns.
Yep.
So
100%. That's what everyone's looking for, right? True.
yeah.
Let's be honest. Yeah.
So and then basically, so how do you transition it? So one is context. So you can create context and a good social, someone in good, that's good socially. I'm not a master at pickup by any means. I'm okay. But there's some masters where they're really good at creating context out of nothing. Okay. So like basically they'd be like, hey, I have, you want to come back to my place? I actually have an album of kittens that we could look at, and they're like, now there's context because now we're gonna go look at the kittens, and like just like, how'd you come up with that like on a whim? So what I do is I'm teaching creativity. How can you creatively create some context? And then it's a chess game. So how can you throw in that context? The new conversation thread is going to be about that thing. And then now, because that conversation thread is about this thing, it's not directly related, but you can bounce off of that topic and now talk about another topic that is closely related to that topic, which is now the problem that you solve.
Yep.
And so you're
Beautiful.
throwing in little like hooks and then you're opening loops and then you're creating that. Another thing, the most known one is two-step posts. That's all they're doing is they're creating context. Oh, what caught your interest about this? Oh, is that something you deal with? Got it. You mind if I ask you some questions about that? Might be able to give you some more stuff. And now you got context.
Yep.
The messaging master, what they do is they know what to ask or what topic to lead it towards that's going to now create that conversation thread.
It's a beautiful framework and whole, that's a whole level of artistry there. That's awesome. I'm so glad you just said all that. My brain's going freaking crazy. One of the things, like I'm a firm believer, your Facebook group and you're talking about a two-step and this
Yeah.
and that, right? It's one of the things too that I ingrain in all my clients. Everything you post on social media, every email you send out, whatever it may be, everything is a funnel.
Mhm.
Think of it as a funnel, everything you're putting out there, so some posts, it should be like your ad, some should be like your landing page, right?
Yeah.
Some should be more like a webinar VSL, some should be giving that peek behind the curtain so they understand, because now you're speaking to each type of individual of where they're at in a journey every
Yeah.
single day. And to your point of like asking the questions, my brain goes, oh my gosh, like I'm just thinking about like long form copy that I'll write, and you have
Yeah.
these certain
There you go.
headlines that are specifically on target to like what you're talking about. I'm putting this
Yeah.
headline here for an intention or create an intention.
We
Uh,
can talk about a thing now together.
yes, and that's a beautiful way of thinking of it. Like my awesome dude, you just kind of blew my mind. That was beautiful. And I think if more people understood that to
Yeah.
that level, geez, if I even knew that to that level. But now, yeah, it's helping me really kind of connect some dots here. It explains why you're so successful. You know, I want to step back real quick. You were talking about like you trained a setter and it was basically setting up laydowns for you,
Yeah.
right? Some offers, it's funny. Should the owner be doing the DMs? Should the owner be in the marketing? Should the owner do the sales calls? All these different variables. Having a setter book a call for you and them show up, like what a powerful thing that you can say and go,
Yeah.
it's a laydown going, dude, that guy didn't know a single thing. He was flipping burgers 6 months ago. I taught him. He's now got you on a sales call with me, buying from me. You
Yeah.
think I can teach you to do the same thing? Oh yeah, cool. What a like him being a setter is actually like your webinar showing how showing like true proof that it works,
Right.
right? And so people have to understand that, like the conversation you're having, the posting, all of that is a funnel with the end goal of someone going, Dylan, dude, here's my credit card. I want to learn the skill from you.
Mhm.
And if you just understand that in a human way, wow, it puts you in the best place to win.
Yeah, and that setter specifically, so recently he just started his own business. He's doing cold outbound on LinkedIn. Cold outbound lead that's never heard of him just bought $60,000 deal from him on the first call.
What's his offer?
It's mindset coaching.
Really? Holy
Yeah.
crap, that's even a harder thing to sell.
Yes.
That's one of those
That's what
hardest
we were
things.
selling. It was very difficult. It
Yes, it's
was
a
very
very
difficult.
one of the agencies I used to do sales and stuff for.
Yeah.
And we worked with online business owners at that time as well. And there were certain offers we just turned away.
Mhm.
Fitness was one of them because majority of people never had anything unique. You can only have so many. Hey, I'm gonna get rid of your dad bod in 6 weeks. Like running ads, and it isn't going to be effective for your business. I'm sorry, you need something special, right? Your cost acquisition client.
Can't fix the offer with the ads.
Yeah, it's too tough. Mindset can be really tough too because a lot of people don't have the ROI unless again and there are certain ones that we did and we were able to tie it. Like one guy was actually a brain coach, so he worked with athletes, and a lot of the athletes he took them were like they were like bench warmers to where they became star players by
Mhm.
neuro programming. And so switching that mindset to like a neuro programming type of aspect, now it's something really tangible. People understand,
Mhm.
flow state mindset, but $60,000 for that, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And to be clear, like we both had experience selling a few million of mindset. So like we kind of had the flow down where like a lot of guys that come to me, they have hard offers, very difficult offers, and they don't even know what questions to ask. And so like what we just did was like said, hey, if you didn't have this confidence issue, where do you feel like you would be at financially right now? And ask different questions that create gaps, financial gaps. And now it's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. That's the problem causing all this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So and you
Yeah.
gotta believe it. Like you gotta like I believe that mindset is pretty much everyone's biggest problem.
I couldn't agree more, right? Like your belief system and your confidence in who you are. And
Yeah.
you know who Patrick Bet David is by any chance?
Yeah.
So, he's a very successful guy, has a podcast, whether you believe his stance on things and all that stuff is irrelevant. there was a clip from him that it was like 8, 10 years ago. And he was, or it was clip from recently, but he was talking about a story like 8, 10 years, whatever it was. And he said he was sitting in his car, he just got in a fight with his girlfriend, she left. And he was an atheist at the time, and said, "Hey God, if you exist, I really wish I could speak to my mom right now." And he hadn't spoken to his mom in like 5 years. Within 30 seconds, his phone rings, it's his mom.
Wow.
And he answers it, and, "Hello? Hey, it's your mom. Okay, why'd you call? I felt like you needed something."
Oh man.
And so, through that conversation,
Chills.
and he got off the phone and said, "I'm a logical man, and that's just way too coincidental." And he became a believer in Christ at that moment. But it also skyrocketed his business career,
Hmm.
because he goes, "I want to work every day and have the favor of Christ behind me, and I'm doing this for this purpose."
Well, what's
Right?
the biggest mindset issue that causes people to fail?
Self-doubt. There's nothing there to, drive him forward, and it just built all of his confidence and
Yeah.
everything. He can't fail.
Fear, doubt, and a lack of confidence.
Yep.
And how can you have fear and doubt and a lack of confidence with that level of backing?
Correct. 100%. And so it changed his whole business perspective as well. Right.
Yeah.
And it's one thing, again, I'm a believer in Christ, and that same type of thing. And I'm also a wretched sinner, and we all have self-doubts and things like that. But when you understand that level of conviction and your mindset in that, you really, there, you can accomplish pretty much anything at that point.
Take
Right.
so many risks. You'll just do it all.
Yeah. So that mindset thing, that's awesome that you guys were able to even connect that, because you guys are trying to figure out how to have a conversation when someone doesn't have to. I'm
Yeah.
writing copy to people that want to read it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's a thing. Like, I don't want to just "Hey, read this, Dylan, and believe me." No, you have a conversation, open that context.
Yeah.
Where are these areas? And to be able to have somebody through a DM, wow, dude, that's powerful. It's amazing. So
Yeah.
sorry to get off on that tangent.
That leads me to my like this. I think this is important to touch on too. Is a lot of people will hit me up and they'll be like, "Well, how much time does it take to DM? Like, why would I DM? Like, I got a business to run or whatever." DMs are what built this offer that I have. It's what built the offers that I worked in that were doing millions of dollars. That's what helped us have the information to know what to ask in our scripts. And so, like, whether you use ChatGPT or, whatever, but like, you're getting to know if your offer isn't crushing, like, and you don't have people, like, it's not got building that organic word of mouth, and it's not people like, what is that? Like, they're doing this, they're doing that. What are they doing? Those offers that like people like, it just works, right?
Yeah.
Because the okay, how do you build a sales system? So you do systems and processes. One process that people can't get right is sales. Well, okay, let's say a business owner is doing less than 20 grand a month, 10, 20K a month, and they're still in that solopreneur phase and figuring things out. Well, for them to move past that, they have to have information, they have to have data. And where do you get that data? Your gold mine is your DMs. People are going to willingly tell you stuff that you can copy and paste. And now you find out the patterns that everyone is thinking. Why don't you buy skill training? Well, because I think I need a process instead. Why? And then you're gathering this, and then you find the kind of blended a common belief in the market, because beliefs are a virus. They go into someone's mind and then they flood all over the market, and then the people at the top are the ones giving that belief out. One of the beliefs that I've just decided, I started believing it, but I decided not to believe it anymore, is that the trust in the market is down.
I
We've been
couldn't, I
talking about
couldn't,
that.
I couldn't disagree with that anymore. And it's not the trust. I
Yeah,
think it's the level of education, right? And
right.
so, yeah, go
I
ahead.
believe that the noise in the market is high.
Yep.
I believe that people have mechanisms that they need to trust. You might need to elongate it a little bit. But a lot of times, like, for example, in the pickup world, people would go out and they try to get girls, and they'd be like, no, girls just don't like sex. Well, that's fundamentally not true. Like, they love it. They love guys. They love, hanging out. They love flirting. They love all that. It's just you're not good at it. Right? And so what has started happening is I actually started to believe that like the past month, and I actually saw my results go down because like I started like but then like my friend over here just closed a 60K deal from a guy that never met him before. And you're like, okay, I got to go handle my own beliefs because I'm starting to project it and see more of it,
Yes.
you know?
It,
So,
it's the
yeah.
same variable of, oh my gosh, I'm being shadow banned.
Yeah. No, your
No, your
content
content just sucks. Nobody's responding because it's garbage, right?
sucks.
It's the same type of deal. It's no, there's not some secret conspiracy out there just, to attack you here. And, and I, and I agree. I trust is down with shit, right? Like if you're putting
Yeah.
up crap, and that's the thing, like if someone's looking at and having conversation and watching your stuff and in your group and all these type of things, oh, they trust you 100%. Trust isn't down at all
Right.
because what you're putting out's amazing,
Right.
right?
Thank you.
And the other thing is, if we're looking at mindset training as an example, never met the guy. Yeah, trust could be down. Yeah, because most of the mindset training out there, hey, the 5 shifts to magically blah blah. Dude, I don't want to watch 45 minutes of garbage to tell
Yeah.
me to book a call with you and you don't tell me anything. And no, I'm not going to buy from you, right?
Yeah.
To where the trust that person bought $60,000, no different than if Tony Robbins said $60,000 for my 5 days business mastery type
Mhm.
of deal, right? The trust is there. Can you get that trust by showcasing who you are?
Yeah.
And that's where people are failing drastically. So the fact that you guys are able to do that through DMs, again, huge testament to what you guys are doing.
I think let me add some flavor to that coffee. I think it's not trust. I think well, potentially the same thing, but like it's what's believability is down. Do you know who Alan Sultanic is?
Oh yeah, 100%. He's actually one of my mentors. I'm in
Yeah, I
NHB.
was I
Yep.
was looking at some of his stuff and something he said to me, or not to me, but I was reading it. But it was like what happens is like when there's not a lot of regulation, you can kind of say anything and people will believe it, right? I don't know if he said that exactly, but it was like, well, there's all this like you can just you do have to make bigger and bigger promises the more competition there is.
Yep, correct.
And so the bigger promises, but then they don't get fulfilled on, then people are going to walk around with that in their mind, believing, like, be getting triggered off, believing that that's not true, right? But I think deep down, people fundamentally believe that, hey, there is a solution out there. You just chose the wrong one.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's, truthfully, that's why I started doing what I was doing, because so many people have chosen the wrong one because they bought into other people's marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And whether we're talking about a setter, whether we're talking about remote closers, whether we're talking about online business owners, so many people got in because they bought the marketing that Alan was talking about. Hey, make $100,000 a month, working 1 day a week, coaching your clients because we're magically going to bring 100 clients in a month for you that are going to gladly pay you 10, 20, $50,000 to learn how to lose 10 pounds in the next 5 weeks. Not true, right? But they bought that dream.
Right.
Thing. Hey, are you a college kid? Work 2 hours a day on social media, which you're already doing, and make $30,000.
Yeah.
And people bought that. Can you make $30,000 a month as a setter? 100%. Is it going to take you more than 2 hours a day messing around on social media? 1,000%. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to Alan's point of like things have just gotten so ridiculous with the marketing.
Yeah.
Whether it's guaranteed or your money back or this or that, like just because if you're selling something general and generic, the only thing you could do to make it sound good is by these outrageous claims.
Yeah.
Which the trust in the market now, that type of stuff, it repels them, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where the stuff that you're doing, the people that watch and you're watching a video of you actually going through a DM and closing. Holy crap. Okay, I'm in.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. And that's the trust isn't gone. The believability, I like that angle because now they do trust because you showed behind the curtain. And that's one of the big things when I'm working with clients, when they've been in an online business, they have all these things. just like when they failed with DMs and they reach out to you, they've been running ads or had an organic and everything when people are coming to it, just a crapshoot. And when I build the things, that's one of the big things that we talk about. Like
Yeah.
these, like what's going to, destroy the uncertainty, give them clarity, give them that confidence, that believability, build that trust, the understanding of what it is, right? Because what you're doing in DM is the same thing in the same process I do with my clients. I want, if you and I go car shopping today, this weekend, you and I start looking at
Have an invite.
cars, dude, what are we getting, right?
Yeah.
Let's go, baby. Hey, let's go buy a car this weekend, and you and I start hopping online and we're looking at different vehicles, we're sending pictures back, dude, this one is, and we're each gonna go buy one. On Saturday we go hit the lot, we each know which car, which brand we want, which model we want, what year, what color, what the interior is. We're walking on the lot going, hey, do you have this? I'm looking for these 5 things. Yeah, we got one in the back of the lot. Do you want to go check it out? Take it for a test drive? Heck yeah. And get your financing guy, start writing up papers, because when we pull it back, unless I despise it, I'm buying it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way that you're moving people through DMs. Right. And it's the same way that I help people put systems in place. So when someone finds them, they're able to go through that process quickly. So when they do have a conversation, that conversation is like taking the test drive out. How long have you been looking at this car? Dude, I've done 20 hours of research on it. I've been dreaming about this car for 5 freaking years. Like, so glad you guys finally have one. I hope we get the financing squared away. Or I'm paying cash. I've already got the briefcase here. That's way people come in, because they have everything you're just talking about.
Well, let's talk about that then for bigger companies too, because like we're
Yeah.
talking about like the small fry trying to build their brand.
Yeah.
So and this works for everybody because look, when you're a coach and you're trying to establish yourself now as that expert in that field, and you need sales. Like you need sales because you need to survive. But you also need to not destroy your brand reputation while you're building up your sales pipeline.
Important. Yes.
So the reason why I came up with messaging mastery is because there's a lot of people. So there's 7 and 8 figure businesses that are teaching you setting processes, that their setting processes are going to be a lot different than the coach just starting. And I can't stand this when a coach who is like 10 grand a month is like, I'm going to go hire a setter now. No, you are not at the time in your life to go and hire a setter. You need to be in DMs and you need to get off your high horse. You need to go in DMs and you need to learn. You need to be genuinely interested about your clients. You need to talk with them. Why? Because you're still figuring out your offer and you need more information, and that's worth more to you than money right now. And 2, you also need to be like building up relationships and growing a group and having a containment system. All right. Now, the difference between that and a 7-figure company with an inbound process and leads and DMs and 2 steps and like they're processing it, right, is a big difference. So here's the analogy I give. If I go and talk to you in New York City in an alleyway at 1 a.m. and I walk up looking just like this and I go, hey, come here. What is your natural reaction going to be?
Hotter pills.
Hotter pills, right.
I'm running the other way. I'm like, no, dude, I'm good.
No, please get the fuck away from me.
Yep.
Why? It's because where you are.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with me. I could have the greatest energy in the world, but where are we? We're in a freaking alleyway. It's dangerous. There's nobody here. Now let's say we're in an invite-only Hollywood mansion party, and I walk up to you and I say, "Hey, come here." I'm like, "Cool, you're safe." Why? Because you got in.
Yep.
You got into the door. So when you're building your business, it's a natural progression of creating containment events, creating containment systems. Why? Because that is the context, and that is where you are matters. And then the door's more open because you're there. So now let's say you come up to me at this big Hollywood party and I say, no, leave me alone. Well, I don't know if you know the owner. I don't know if like who you are. You might be a great connection for me. Like there's so many selfish interests because of just where we are. But my biggest selfish interest and the alleyway is to protect my life. Okay, so I'm going to give that's context. So what are we doing? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's another beautiful analogy. It's why I talk about, at the beginning of every single conversation, you got to get their perception right of reality of where they're at, which again, do they view you like you're in a dark alley, or to your point, are you in a millionaire's mansion in a small private party? You have to get what that perception is. Otherwise, you don't know where this conversation is going to go. So I think that you describing it that way is beautiful, because it's the most important factor of understanding of who you're talking to, so you can have a genuine conversation with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so what people are doing is they're not realizing that this is a game of chess, not a game of checkers. So what they're doing is they're going in, okay, how do I make 10 grand this month? Well, you're just starting out. You're like, it's just unrealistic expectations all over the market. How do I make 10 grand this month? And I've never established myself. I have no authority. I'm just coming in. I just have an offer stack. Like those are everywhere. Like there's no unique
Yes.
offer really. So you come in, unless you have like the offer, and who knows, you might. But what you need to do, and so this relates back to pickup. Well, what we used to do is like I would make friends with girls first. I actually have like a bunch of friends that are just girls that I never try anything with. I friend zoned them. Okay. Why? Because it opens the door for more people. And I genuinely like hanging out with them. Like I like being around women. Like they're great, And so I had these great, like, it was just win-win for everybody. They get a cool guy that has cool friends that are good looking that they get to meet.
Yep.
I get the opens, they know all these other girls. And it was just like this, it was abundance everywhere because I wasn't in scarcity. It's the same thing in this industry. You're ruining all of these great social proof examples. If somebody doesn't buy from you, but they're commenting on all your stuff on how great you are, well, one, try to sell them, but two, they're great. They're an asset. There's nothing wrong with that. That's amazing. Stop trying to close everybody in the beginning. When this is why it's so crucial what I'm teaching here for a beginner coach or a beginner consultant or somebody who's building a brand, because you're actually building up this momentous process, this thing with your group, that if you poach it too early, you're killing the baby calf and you're trying to eat the baby calf before it has any meat on it. Right. So building out this up. And then once that's built up, now you're valuable to a closer. If a closer wants to sell for you, you have a 15,000 person group or something that, hey, feel free, eat. We're all eating, dude. I cooked them for the past year. They love me. They're going to get on calls with you. They're going to close. Well, now you can not be in the sales process anymore. That's how you get yourself out of it. But what people do is they try to outsource this thing to this skinny, flimsy business. The guy hasn't got on a single sales call yet. He's trying to outsource it. You have no information about, you have no data on your market. You don't know what they buy and what they don't because you didn't test it yourself as the entrepreneur.
Correct.
And it's a mess.
Yeah. And going back to the very beginning of the conversation we kind of had of, in the industry right now, you're seeing a big emphasis on setters because there's a lot of online businesses. They're doing very, very well, like 500,000, million, 2 million a month plus, right? Where they're getting 70,000, 90,000 leads every single month, and 20, 30 by running VSLs, by running form ads, by running webinars, right? And having a setter that is able to come in and having a setter team that's super strong to be able to go through that 5,000 leads or 100,000 leads very quickly, very effectively, and get them on the sales calls, you can take a $1 million a month business to like 5 million really fast, all because of that setter and how important it is. And, to emphasize your point, we all know that there's a person out there that was selling, hey, are you an online coach just starting off? We're going to put a setter in your business. You're going to be making 10, 20, $100,000, right? And so the marketing has put some expectations in there. People don't understand actually what it takes on the back end. Could a setter come into a business that's only making 10 or 20 and still kind of on their path and be successful? Yes, but it's not going to get them to where they want to go financially, right? And you got to worry about that. And that's one thing I always say when I'm talking to business owners too, of like, hey, I'm thinking about bringing in a closer. Dude, you're closing 2 deals a month.
You're not there yet.
Like, what closer do you think you're going to bring on?
Yeah.
Right.
You're letting a wolf out into your farm. that you're still working, and they're going to eat all the cattle.
Yeah. And they're going to leave in no time because there's no opportunity, right? They're not, no A player is taking you because there's no opportunity here. It's not going to solve your problem. I love that you said, hey, get in the DMs. You need to do this because it's a great way of figuring out, is your offer going to work? Right? Lots of times people's ego is too big of, no, I'm the owner. I don't need to be cleaning up the toilets. Hey, when I was the owner of businesses, I was a janitor part-time as well, right? Like, I've got no problem doing that stuff. You need to do those things. And I think you bring up a really good point of, even if it's only verifying the offer, the amount you learn about what people are actually looking for, what the objections are, it's a big thing I teach business owners too. Hey, if you're on a call this week and you get an objection, guess what? You've got content for tomorrow, because we are doing a video.
I just made a post about that.
Did you?
That's everyone's like content cycle. Get pissed
you
about an
should.
objection.
And you should be, and because there's a lot of reasons why, because your content it should be, again, shifting people's perspective.
Yes.
Right. So if they're afraid and you're only speaking to their fear all the time, you have to shift them and shift the perspective differently. Right. Or, and I would never say, hey, so I was on a phone call with this guy, Dylan, the other day. He's a freaking moron. He was making $50,000 in his business. He wouldn't invest to have me come in and fix. And because I would be able to take him from 50K to 100K a month in probably under 6 weeks. And then we'd be able to scale that to $1 million if he wanted within the next 6 months. What an idiot, right? So if you jump on a phone call with me and you tell me no when we can do that, you're stupid. That's not.
But now the new future customers are worried that that's gonna be the one getting roasted.
Correct. But that objection, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, what's behind that objection really, right? I don't even call it objection handling. I call it carrying curiosity. Because if you tell me no at any point, or even in front of a call, you're talking something I don't agree with, I need to care enough about you and get curious enough about what's behind that, right? So if you give me an objection of, hey, because if I told you right now, give me $10,000, I'm going to have an ATM show up to your house tonight. It's going to print out $5,000 every single month. So in 60 days, your money's back. And every single month after that, $5,000 automatically prints out. That's a no-brainer. You're doing that, right? So what would make you say no about that? So if you're telling me no about that, what's actually behind it? Now talk about what's behind it and make your content about that, right? Because now you can limit and you can start shifting people's perspective around that objection. And it also gives you a really good key of things to talk about, because now you can overcome that, because there's 100 people watching your stuff. One person gave you that. What's the odds that some of those other 99
they all got
have that same thought process, right? So yeah, and so it has to be done correctly, right? Or it's something, hey, we put it in your assets. So now if someone's going through assets before they even show up on a call, we're already dropping and changing that perception, changing that seed of belief, destroying self-doubt, because we all have doubt, right? But if you have doubt, the beautiful thing about that, and speaking of Alan Sultanic, it's one of the things he talks a lot about that stuff too. And I'm a firm believer when you have self-doubt, and I call myself a strategic self-doubter, actually.
Yeah.
Because self-doubt used to hold me back from taking action. So I'm very strategic with my self-doubting now, to where if I doubt myself, I stop and think, why am I doubting myself? What's the truth here? And it helps me look at things from multiple perspectives.
Right.
And he talks about that too, of like, hey, if someone's self-doubting, they're actually looking at the possibility of something, the positive outcome can happen just as much as the negative.
Well, now they're goal oriented.
Correct. And so self-doubt's actually goal.
You can't have doubt unless you have a goal.
Correct. And so that's the big thing, like being a strategic self-doubter, instead of having it hold me back like it would before, now I use it strategically to actually help me learn quicker, improve better, look at different strategies quicker, find solutions faster. So I use that what used to hinder me actually is, I think, was one of my superpowers now. So, that self-doubt piece is a really powerful thing. And so objection someone gives you an objection, what's behind that? What's causing them to do that? So let's have a conversation about that with your content,
Yeah,
because
so
you'll
it would be a mindset, like a mindset post,
good. It could be,
right?
yeah,
And like,
100%.
hey, you're always going to have doubt before you do something you've never done before.
Yes.
And maybe you tell a story, right? And this is
Yep.
why I like this process here. When it comes as it relates to DMs, like what'll happen is, Alex Hormozzi's one of my favorite quotes from him is outwork your self-doubt.
Yep.
Why does that work? Well, it's because it's giving you data points, right? It's
Stacking,
giving you
stacking proof. Yep.
proof stacking, yeah. And you're getting evidence against the contrary, which is you believe that you have no capabilities to be able to do the thing that you want to do. But then you see something like something you're good at is you're building confidence. Like I feel all confident on this call.
Yes.
Like you're like I saw that and then this and I'm like, oh yeah, that is true. I didn't think about that. I'm like, oh, that's actually great. Like glad you brought that up. Now I know. And so how does somebody make a decision is if they feel confident in their solution, because then they won't work with you, but that they feel confident in themselves and their decision making criteria.
Yeah.
you know so
Yeah. And sometimes you need to have a way of shifting it. And I'm glad you're an analogy guy, because I'm a huge analogy guy too. Right. And
yeah.
some of the conversations if I'm talking with somebody and there is some self-doubt going on, I'm in Minnesota. So I always, hey, do you have deer where you live? Right. Like, do you know deer crossing the road and caught in headlights? Right.
Yeah.
Oftentimes as a business owner, you're that deer caught in headlights.
Oh, I love that.
And like right now, that's where you're at.
You'd rather not make a decision than make the
Right.
wrong decision.
Yeah. And so that's where you're at right now. Which makes more sense? Jump forward or wait until that vehicle splat? Because right now you're in indecision and it's scary. I get it 100%.
Mhm.
Right. But that's the thing of you have to change someone's perspective. And so if you're getting at, can you overcome it? Can we write content on it? What can we do about it?
Sure.
Or change someone's perspective about it. And, I'm starting to understand truly why you get the results in DMs that you do, because of the level of interpersonal stuff you've done with yourself, the level of developing human communication, interaction, caring, fact finding, be able to read people correctly. Those things are very, very powerful. And it's amazing that you can actually, you're teaching people that skill to have that ability to do that, and as a business owner, what's better, learning that skill and doing that for the next 6 to 12 months and play the long game, or spend $3,000 to $5,000 a month on ads that aren't working, and in 90 days you're $20,000 in debt with no clients to show for it.
Maybe both.
If you could do both and make the
Eat
other
it
ones
with your
the same
sales.
exact. but that's one of the things of developing skills is so important, and it's really understanding all aspects of a business with a lot of business owners. A lot of them can't hire the stuff out yet.
Mm-mm.
Right. And the business owners that can hire stuff out, there's a reason why they pay attention to a setter team and focus on bringing in high level individuals like yourself, or getting high individuals like yourself to train their setters to know that, oh my gosh, this is number one, it's going to quadruple
Oh my God.
the amount of people that know us with our ad spend. It's going to quadruple the calls booked and quality calls booked at zero investment, just commission payout. And that's a no brainer.
Mm.
Right. Can
I
I
want to
bring
give this for a business owner, not to cut you off, but I want to
Yeah.
add this in while we're on the topic.
Yeah.
How to treat a setter and who they are. Like if you
Please.
have a
Yes.
DM setter in your business, there's a very, very specific, they have a very specific role. And they are like, I have seen really good setters leave businesses because they weren't looked at. They weren't. I
Great
did my
citizens. Let's
first.
call it what it is. It's a
Yeah,
second.
when I did my first business, I was very like, all right, set it and forget it. It's a system. No, it's a person. And
Yep.
who are they? So, like I said with the nightclub example, so if you're on the street and you want to go approach somebody on the street or in an alleyway, There's a way to do it. That's one context. Then you're going to try to move them to a bar or a place that you can have coffee. Just get out of the alley. All right.
Correct.
So there's the outbound portion of it. Outbound is effective, takes way more skill because it's cold. Okay. Then you pull them to a bar. That's maybe like somebody else's Facebook group. Then you take them from the bar to the after party. That's your Facebook group. And you're building that up. At a big business is essentially like that really exclusive nightclub with the line going out the side and going around it. And now you have somebody who's vetting the bouncer and they're pulling people in and they're making sure they're getting the right people in, but they're not getting too many people in because that could screw up the ecosystem. Okay. That's like adding in too much gut bacteria or like yeast, and you throw off your ecosystem. There's a homeostasis that you have to maintain in the ecosystem. So the ecosystem could be your community that's a paid community, a mastermind, right? Those things are really important. They need to have a holistic view of the business because they are now the person who lets people in or keeps people out. They're not somebody you whip in the back and you say, get more of nothing. Because here's what happens. I've experienced it from a closer standpoint because I was a closer. And as soon as the whip was on the back, I had to wrangle people. All right. They're basically saying, here's this pissed off bull, and I'm going to whip it in the ass and throw him on the call with you.
Yeah.
And the thing's kicking. It's like, who are you? Why am I here? All right.
Yep.
And then it makes my job harder.
It's a great analogy too.
Yeah. But then there are setters that work the lead, help them, give if it's not the right time, they're going to help them solve the solution. The person wants to come back. They're more open. Not only that, but they're managing the group and the dynamic. They're the host of the event. And they're like, hey, not yet. He's not ready yet. You just give him like 5 more drinks. This guy right here, he's actually the owner of a tech company, and he's actually connected with this person. And they're in their mind. This is if you're doing a group model. Yep. They're making sure that like it's the right people. They're dining, they're eating, they're going to the next fit. Hey, you need to talk to Dylan, get on this call with him. He's great. He has long hair. He has a cool hat. Like you like him. He's actually also from Florida, and now there's like, they're feeling safe, and that's where the laydowns are. It's not necessarily, it's like, how can we get them more open?
Yep.
And they're timing things, and they're making sure the ecosystem is safe.
Yep.
And then, like, as a good business should have an ascension model, right? And then there's that ascension where there's like, this is what I call the 5th degree targeting, which is the really high paying people, right? There's like you can prospect in your own paid members, right? Which is awesome. Alan Sultanic has this dialed, right? Where he's getting people to buy. So it's creating now an ecosystem of buyers. You have to buy to be here. Holy crap. That's valuable. What's the last thing you need is a guy getting whipped in the back, scared to hit his KPIs, dialing everybody and pissing them all off. You ruined it. You had this thing growing. You were building this amazing business.
Yep.
And then you had this guy go in there and just, you let him loose and he pissed everybody off.
Yes. And it's a super good analogy, right? Like it is. It's like having just a dinner of 8 intimate friends sitting around enjoying themselves because you've all known each other for years. And then all of a sudden the drunk new neighbor comes stumbling over with a baseball bat and just making everyone completely uncomfortable, right? It's just going to, oh, well, we got to go, right? Like it's,
yeah.
And bad setters, just like when you get bad cold DMs, again, you have to have the right setters doing the right activities in the right scenario, right? Because you can burn your reputation bad and burn your house down extremely fast. And I thought you brought up something really unique too. Again, having different assets, people don't understand that of like, hey, I've got a free lead magnet. And then once they get that, I'm gonna send them a message tomorrow and I might book them on a call to sell them on my high ticket thing. That's not the way it works, right? Again, it's taking a person through their ideal journey to discovery of like, hey, is it ideal to work and hire Dylan or not?
Mhm.
Right. And having somebody to be able to guide them through that, like you said, it's like the host, like, hey, do you guys need refills? Hey, make sure you go grab some snacks. Hey, how's this going? Do you need anything else? And going from room to room and checking on everybody and
Yeah.
knowing everybody by name, but having a system that is keeping track of that and constantly in there, it is
Yeah.
super important for a lot of businesses. And again, that's why so many of these businesses are very successful, because they have individuals like you that are actually doing that correctly, or setters, some setters jobs. And in the industry, they kind of were viewed as kind of like the second-hand citizen, and where that's totally changed now, or I'm seeing it changed a lot. Closers were treated really bad for a long time too, right?
Mhm.
And so it's kind of funny, the evolution of what's going on, which again is the reason why I've always, if someone's responded to me or sending me a cold DM, I'm gonna treat them with love and heart. I'm gonna treat anybody in any role the way that I want to be treated in that role. The same way I set up marketing, and when I bring on a client, hey, I'm gonna set up the way I do it is I set up my systems exactly the way I want to be sold,
Yeah.
because I think that's majority of the way that people like to do it. I've never clicked on an ad, went through a funnel, booked a call and bought, never once in my life.
Yeah.
But I've spent over $200,000 in 10 years
Yeah.
on high ticket things to learn things. And that's why, like the unsubscribed book, we were talking about 15 hours. I
Mm.
told her, was like, dude, I believe in that. 7 to 15 touch points. I believe in that. That's who I've always been. And now I think, instead of only 10% of the market like that, I think 80% of the market's like that, because people have purchased the wrong thing and didn't get the outcome that they were looking for.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not they lost trust, they just know more now. They're more educated. They're looking for more stuff. They're looking for something specific. And can you show them that, so they believe that you actually can solve their problem? And that's where everything kind of really changes. So we kind of got off on a tangent there as well. Now, we've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
I think we do a second one. And
Down.
I know I could talk to another 30, 60 minutes with you on this. So I would love
I
to
didn't
get.
even notice how long it's been. I'm just like in a flow.
I just noticed, because actually I just had an alert pop up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had any idea. Um, I don't want people to.
Get exhausted.
Yes, 100%. That's a perfect thing. So talk about your group real quick. Talk about
Yeah.
your mastery program, what you do, and is there something that you want to leave people a golden nugget with here? And we wrap up in
Before I
5 minutes.
handle that, I feel like there's an item on some people's minds that are watching this, because I can feel the objection that they're probably going to have to the thing that I just said about groups and the setters and
Yes,
stuff.
please.
Is I got to make sales because I got money pouring out. I get it. And so I want to handle that, because here's the thing about in selling: if somebody has something on their mind, they're not going to even listen to the next thing that's coming up. So there's going to be a misunderstanding. So the misunderstanding is, what do we do? All right. Well, why is it that a nightclub can say no to more people and be hyper profitable compared to the bar that gives away free beer? How come they're dominating the market? And well, it's the perception that everybody wants to be in that nightclub. Why? Because there's a line out the door. Two, they're selling stuff that doesn't cost that much money for an enormous amount of money. How much is a bottle at Live Nightclub? It's a lot. All right. There's $10,000 tables. All right. Bottle service. It's different, right? And so you want to attract high quality people. High quality people go to those places. All right. Just like there's proof right there. You're a high quality guy, and you say, I've never bought something on the front end, like a fast, quick offer.
Yep.
All right. Because the more stable somebody is, the less their emotions can be manipulated, right? So everyone's thinking, like, how do I get somebody from a cold ad to a sale as fast as possible? So you want to shorten the sales cycle. It's not necessarily that you're not selling. You're
Right.
still selling. There is going to be people that buy on the front end. And the more skilled you are, you can have a fine front end call funnel, like, and do fine. Okay. If you're skilled at sales. But it's what about the people that didn't buy? Where are they going? You're wasting them. Like there's this big lead waste. Okay. And so and then also if you have your salespeople living in fear, they're not going to be aggressive killers on calls.
Yep.
Fear is what stops communication because it chokes you up. This is where the energy is. It's in the heart and it's in the
throat. Yep.
throat. It'll close it up and you can't talk and you can't do anything. You have no.
And like you said, the heart, like you don't care anymore.
And then you don't care. You can't care because you're scared of you're going to get fired.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So we've worked deals. Like I've worked one deal for a year before. I'm very patient with my deals. I will work them. All right. And I will work them and I'll work them. And that's how me and my setter were on this team. And we were pulling them up. And then, the first sale's hard. Second sale's a little less hard. Then your upsells and your ascension is way less hard. But this is why I'm big on data too. Like if I work with a team, they got a whole data system that they get. Like I'm going to show you first. That way you're going to know. And then we're going to look at, okay, the first month, but a whole bunch of outflow, which is going to be your leading indicators. Your lag indicators is called a lag indicator for a reason because it's a lag. Okay. Yeah. Now, this isn't an excuse for not knowing how to close. Like, you're not going to be like, no, it's the lag indicator, bro. We'll close them next year. No.
Yeah. Nope.
Not going to do that. You're going to be efficient. So what I hate is inefficient businesses with 50 million people in it it's like 10 people trying to screw in a light bulb. Yep. I can't stand that. So the CEO should have the skills. You should have most of the basic skills that people can come to you with. You don't have to know everything, but you should know sales. You should know marketing. You should know DMing. And you should have a basic understanding of your clientele or a fundamental understanding of your clientele and who you're going for. Because that's going to fix all of the other things. Those are all symptom level problems, not root level problems. So the DMing is probably the one core skill that if you don't know it, it will really affect everything else. So I just wanted to answer that. It's about efficiency. When you're more efficient, it doesn't cost you a lot to sell someone. That's when everyone's breaking. They can't scale because they have no skill.
I'm glad you added that piece in because I couldn't agree more. And you are right. There are going to be people. So I'm really glad you closed that off. So yeah. And, I think maybe if you are open to it, having a second one and we do talk a little bit deeper and, there's a lot that we can go off on. So talk to me about the mastery program, your group and those details real quick.
Yeah. So if you're watching this, go to Chat Selling Secrets. Chat Selling Secrets. That's what it's called. And I am going to give you literally so much. Like there is how to transition. You were asking about how do you move from a normal conversation. I literally have that all scripted out, exactly what to say. Give you that. Not only that, but I have an entire library of just me doing it. You can just watch me. Just sit there, watch me closing people in DMs, watch me training people live. You can watch, I have some mindset stuff in there as well. Goal setting, how to set the goals. So that's basically just go in there and like have fun. Like that's your playground. That's chat playground. Okay. And so I want everybody in there. And now here's the thing too. If you go in there, I also run it like a nightclub. So I have a whole bunch of people I haven't let in. I'm going to vet them and I'm going to talk to them. And I'm going to make sure that you're not going to go in there and poach it and be annoying and because I'm about to give you a lot, but at least have a conversation with me. Don't be the guy. Because here's the thing. You're going to try to build a group, but you want to be the guy that's resistant to talking to the group owner. Well, then guess what? You're going to attract people that are resistant to you in your group. Okay. So this is just like how I would run an event. It's how I'm going to run this group. Okay. Then I'm just going to give you stuff. All right. I'm going to give you stuff. Now, if you do have a problem and you want to talk about it, absolutely. Let's have a conversation. All right. Now that leads me to my second thing is the messaging mastery program. Okay. You're probably a coach. You're in your build phase. All right. You're a coach and you're trying to build a brand. This is brand building through DMs. The greatest marketer in the world is Dan Kennedy. He said brand building through direct response. This is the new age 2024 direct response.
Agreed.
So it's how you can sell without destroying your brand reputation. That is what I do. Okay. If you have a team of 2 or more people, around one person, you can go in there. You can get I have the most sick like data tracking shit. Like every single thing you need to know to improve. We have it. There's basically, okay, your intro messages suck. There's a section of the course. You just plug that in and drill it, and it's done. It's not a problem anymore. Conversations suck, drill it. It's not a problem anymore. So I built it very data driven. So that way, you can prove that it works. And then we can basically break it down to how much cash per DM. I also do an hourly audit of if you're DMing, how much cash per hour. And then that way you can see the effectiveness and the efficiency of your actual setters too. Okay. From there, if you are 2+ setters, or you have a more core team and you have more data points, basically you just work with me and we'll come up with something custom where I'll go in and right now I'm training a team of 24 and they're actually doing all chat closing. And so I'll go in there and I will drill it until they get it, until we can actually get the numbers to a point where you don't even have to do the sales calls. That's one aspect, depending on the offer. If you have more of a robust offer, you need somebody on the call. That'll be different. But this is why I do it custom, because we just don't know. Okay. So yeah, that is what you would get in messaging mastery.
That's amazing. I'm gonna have the link down below too, so people can just go down and click. It'll take you right to that group. And again, listen to what Dylan said. He's probably gonna reach out to you when you do. Ask to join the group. Right. So just be ready for that, and maybe send him a picture of a bot or something, and just play along with the game. But like I kind of let it off. This is the first time that we've actually met. Knowing you through social media all these years and seeing what you've done and where you've grown, and I already knew the level of skill that you had developed. This was an amazing conversation.
Yeah, likewise. This is probably one of the best podcasts I've ever been on. Really good.
I appreciate that. And we are definitely going to be in touch to do number 2. I'm also going to be in touch with you because we just need to talk off camera sometime next week too, because my brain's been really going all over. And I need to get back into your group and dive into some of the trainings again as well. And also you and I talking about me actually working with you, because I know it's a part of the game I can get better at, right? And I'm always somebody of let's improve. So thanks again, Dylan. It's been a complete pleasure talking with you. Everyone, the link will be below to join his group. You'll obviously be able to connect with them on there as well. Probably find any other social media handles. Are you on Instagram? Anything of that nature?
Yeah, it's for Instagram. I was just talking about revamping this. It's Dylan Gigs with a Z, DYLANGIGZ. And then if actually you just want to let's say you're just scared of joining my group because you don't like social interactions and you don't want to go to the party and you want to stay inside and watch Netflix, then what you can do is go to my Netflix channel, which is YouTube.
And I'll take the YouTube in there. Under here. I'll put all of them. So make sure that you send me those links so I can put them all in there.
Yep. That's under Dylan Gigliotti. So you can just watch me on YouTube if you just want to watch.
Awesome. Cool, Dylan. Have an amazing rest of your day. Like I said, I'll be in touch here tomorrow or Saturday. And everybody watch for episode number 2. And if certain things did pop up during this one you have questions about, leave them in a comment below so we can go back and we'll make sure that we address those as well in the second episode, because DM setting is going to be a huge asset for your business, for your brand building, whether you're brand new in the space or you're looking at scaling 7-8 figures, maybe even 7 figures a month. So looking forward to it, Dylan. Appreciate you again. Have a good rest of your day.
See you soon. Peace.